Yeah, Christian Watson did not help himself in this game in terms of ingratiating himself with Aaron Rodgers and gaining the trust of the most important guy on that franchise right now. As you said, first play, 75-yard touchdown bomb dropped. Just a terrible drop. He ran right the hell by Patrick Peterson. Ball dropped into his hands, didn't come up with it. Later in the game, he blew one as well on a sort of speed out from the slot. Just didn't get his head round in time. Rodgers put it on where it should have been. He wasn't looking for it in time, just kind of stuck out an arm, when he saw it go by him. It's not going to help. Now, look, he got the start over Romeo Doubs. He was the guy that was ahead on the depth chart and had the chance to make plays, didn't make them. And when you look at what that leaves, it's exactly what we thought heading into the season, which is not much. Like Aaron Jones was the most targeted receiver on the team after the running backs, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. Then it was Romeo Doubs. But nobody had more than 50 yards receiving. They just don't have the horses to make those plays if a guy like Christian Watson is going to drop the ones that are thrown into his hands. So, and then, we said that Rodgers tends to have these games. If you can get him frustrated, if you can make him make a mistake, he can sink. And that happened week 1 last year against the Saints. And we had a couple of turnover-worthy plays from Rodgers in this game.
Rodgers finished the game average depth of target under 6. So he's thrown the ball underneath 5.9 average depth of target, including all plays. And that includes the bomb to Christian Watson, right? If you take that out, it's like 3 yards, 4 yards per attempt down the field. That was something else I mentioned as well when Davante Adams wasn't there last year. And it felt like the Packers had to really manufacture offense. And they did that a bunch with A.J. Dillon catching 5 passes. And you mentioned Aaron Jones. They've got the running backs catching passes instead. They've got a lot of just, the dink and dunk stuff into the flats and all that fun stuff. If there's no downfield passing attack, what are the Packers? I mean, it's going to be ugly offensively. And last year, I think we said week 1, bad Aaron Rodgers game. Does it mean anything? We'll see. Let's see it again before it means something. He comes back, 4 touchdowns, no picks against the Lions on Monday Night Football. And I'll go on record and say he's going to bounce back and have a great game against the Bears. But the Packers, if they want to go anywhere, have to figure this out offensively. They have to he threw 20% of his passes beyond the sticks, Sam. And they were working from behind this entire game. This is what we're talking about historically first off, he doesn't trust the people to throw the ball to. But secondly, I know he chucked one up into coverage. This hey, whatever, I'll just throw it right before the half, and that got picked off. He probably has to just start doing that a little bit more often. Aaron Rodgers has to start throwing the ball down the field, even if whether he trusts these guys or not. You got to start taking some chances because this offense won't be able to move the ball with the underneath stuff the entire time.
The other area of concern for Green Bay's offense, though, is the offensive line. So David Bakhtiari is still not back. No Elton Jenkins as well, right? All of a sudden, the kind of group that they've been able to just stitch it together with over the last couple of years is not playing at that kind of performance. And there's some debate as to, how much of that is Minnesota's pass rush? All of a sudden, Danielle Hunter's healthy, Zadarius Smith motivated to face his old team. But I think the proof is in the production lying everywhere for Minnesota. So, okay, if it had just been Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith wrecking the Green Bay offensive line, you'd say, look, that's a tough matchup. They got overwhelmed and they got overmatched by better players. But in addition to those two guys having multiple pressures, Dalvin Tomlinson had multiple pressures. Harrison Phillips had multiple pressures. DJ Wonnum had multiple pressures. Ross Blacklock, who was the worst graded player on the Texans in preseason when they traded for him, had multiple pressures. Patrick Jones had multiple pressures. So Green Bay's offensive line was an issue in this game, and these things are connected. The idea of terrible receivers and bad pass protection. Remember, a few years ago with the Patriots, where Tom Brady had no receivers that could get open. Nobody. It made what was a good offensive line start to look bad because Brady had nowhere to go with the ball, and he had to hold on to the ball longer. And even when pressure arrived, it looked worse because Brady still had nowhere to go with the ball when the pressure got there. So you're just making bad plays under pressure. And all of a sudden that makes the pressure look like a bigger problem than it was when pressure was arriving and you had somewhere to go with the ball and you could make a play. This is what Rodgers is dealing with right now. He's got a group of receivers that he doesn't trust. He can't get the ball in the air to anybody that he thinks is going to make a play, and the offensive line is starting to look worse because of it. Now, the offensive line probably is worse to begin with, but it's going to be made to look a lot worse by the fact that Rodgers doesn't trust any of these receivers to make plays.
I mean, that was my takeaway, is that, yes, there was other plays too. He's just a straight up inviting pressure, right? I mean, the play where he got absolutely crushed, it looked like he may have gotten hurt. He's holding the ball forever. And there may not have been anywhere to go with the ball. There wasn't anywhere to go with the ball. So it is that connection, right? Rodgers got sacked 4 times. A few of them are him holding the ball or not having anywhere to go. And that's the other issue with this, right? So if you are not throwing the ball down the field because you just don't trust your receivers. I think he doesn't trust his receivers more than he doesn't trust his O-line. The O-line's not bad overall, but as you described it well, they're in a challenging spot now. And then, so you're not throwing the ball down the field and you're going to take these negative plays as well. Man, that's going to add up. That was rough.